Have you ever held the entire truth of your life in your hands and felt it way less than a single folded piece of paper? I was standing in our bedroom, the one Clara had just redecorated in shades of sterile gray and what she called oat milk, holding a receipt from the Park Hyatt on Chicago's Water Tower place. It wasn't the cost that made my blood run cold. It was the itemized charge from the hotel bar, time-stamped at 1:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. She'd sworn she was at a conference in Rosemont. 2 glasses of Macallan 18. Clara didn't drink whiskey, but I knew who did. The faint, sickly sweet scent of his expensive cologne still clung to the ghost of a memory from the worst night of my life. The night we lost our son Leo, and now I knew, with a certainty that hollowed out my soul, that the man who had delivered my stillborn child was now sleeping with my wife. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel, tell us where you're from, and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The change in Clara hadn't been a sudden storm, but a slow, creeping frost. After we lost Leo, a chasm opened between us. I tried to bridge it, suggesting grief counseling, a trip, anything to find our way back to each other. She just smiled that tight, polished smile and said, "We all grieve differently, Michael." Her grief looked a lot like late-night work dinners, hushed phone calls she'd take on the balcony overlooking Millennium Park, and a sudden obsession with a new, expensive wardrobe. She started calling Dr. Evans by his first name. Mark was just checking in, she'd say, her thumb swiping furiously across her phone screen. He's been such a support. His support apparently extended to private consultations that weren't on any medical bill I ever saw. The humiliation was a physical thing. It sat on my chest, a dead weight I carried through the halls of the law firm where I was a junior partner. I'd see happy couples on Michigan Avenue and feel a surge of acid in my throat. Was I a fool? Was I the last person to know? She'd become so cold, so dismissive. One evening, I tried to hold her, to feel the warmth that had once been my only refuge. She flinched away. "God, Michael, don't be so needy. I'm exhausted." She looked at me not with love or even pity, but with a chilling, clinical detachment. It was the same look Dr. Evans had given me in that sterile delivery room when he'd said, "I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat." In that moment, I realized they were one and the same. They were untouchable, wrapped in a shared secret that excluded me. The grieving father, the clueless husband. My breakdown didn't happen with a shout. It was a silent collapse, late one night in my home office, surrounded by the life we'd built. I saw a photo of us, taken years ago at North Avenue Beach. The Chicago skyline, a promise of our future. Her smile was genuine then. I put my head in my hands, and the sobs came, ragged and silent, shaking my entire body. The grief for my son and the grief for my marriage merged into one unbearable agony. But as the sun began to rise, casting long shadows across the expensive hardwood floors, something inside me shifted. The pain didn't vanish, but it crystallized. It turned from a weeping wound into a shard of ice. I wiped my eyes, pulled out a fresh legal pad, and at the top of the page, I wrote 2 names. Clara, Dr. Mark Evans. The planning had begun. For the next 3 months, I became a ghost in my own home. I was the loyal, slightly dim husband. I agreed to everything. A new car for her? Of course, honey. A weekend trip to a spa with a friend. You deserve it. Meanwhile, I was a machine of meticulous evidence gathering. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who specialized in matrimonial cases. He was worth every penny. He got me photos. Clara and Evans, kissing in the parking garage of the 900 North Michigan building. Them holding hands at a secluded table at RL restaurant. Them checking into the peninsula, their silhouettes framed against the window of a suite I was still paying for. I installed keylogging software on our home computer. I recovered deleted texts, a nauseating stream of their shared jokes, their contempt for me, their plans. The worst was a text from Clara to him. He's so wrapped up in his own little sad world. It's pathetic. Makes it easy, though. The legal traps were next. I was a lawyer, after all. I reviewed our prenuptial agreement. It had a strict infidelity clause, something her father, a wealthy real estate mogul, had insisted on. If infidelity was proven, She forfeited any claim to my future earnings and our shared assets, including the downtown condo. Then, I dug into Dr. Evans. His practice was part of a major Chicago hospital network. I found their code of conduct online. A personal relationship with a patient, especially one in a vulnerable state, was a catastrophic breach of ethics, career-ending one. My final move was social. Clara's father was hosting his annual charity gala, a massive event for the city's elite. Clara was on the organizing committee. It was her Super Bowl of social climbing, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that she would bring Dr. Evans as her guest. The night of the gala was a blur of black ties and fake smiles. Clara was radiant in a shimmering silver dress, her arm linked through his. They moved through the crowd at the Four Seasons, laughing, accepting compliments, the picture of a power couple. They felt invincible. I watched them from the shadows, a glass of water in my hand, my heart beating a slow, steady, cold rhythm. I saw her father, a man I'd once respected, beam with pride as he shook Evan's hand. The trap was set. All I had to do was spring it. At 9 p.m., as her father took the stage to give his keynote address, I made my move. I had arranged for a special presentation. I'd told the event coordinator it was a surprise tribute to Clara for her hard work. Her father introduced it with a flourish. And now, a little something to honor my daughter Clara and her incredible dedication. The lights dimmed. The massive screens on either side of the stage, which had been showing images of smiling children the charity supported, flickered. And then there it was. A photo. Clara and Dr. Evans, locked in a passionate kiss in that parking garage, illuminated by the harsh fluorescent lights. The photo was 10 feet high. The room fell into a dead, shocked silence. Then another photo. Them holding hands at the restaurant, his hand caressing hers. Then a screenshot of her text message. He's so wrapped up in his own little sad world. It's pathetic. A collective gasp went through the ballroom. I saw Clara's face. The color drained from it, her mask of arrogant beauty shattering into a million pieces. She looked at her father, whose face was a thundercloud of pure fury. She looked at Evans, who was already backing away, his face pale with cowardice. Then her eyes found mine across the room. I didn't smile. I just held her gaze, letting her see the abyss that had opened between us. The aftermath was brutal and efficient. Her father disowned her on the spot. The divorce was swift. The infidelity clause was ironclad. She left with nothing but her clothes and a mountain of public shame. Dr. Evans was fired. The hospital board launched an internal investigation, and I heard he was facing multiple lawsuits from other former patients. Clara tried to call me once, her voice a hysterical mess of apologies and accusations. I didn't answer. I changed my number the next day. I sold the condo, the furniture, every last trace of her. I moved to a quiet neighborhood in Lincoln Park, a place with old trees and quiet streets. The city lights didn't feel like a promise anymore, just a cold, distant glitter. Sometimes late at night, I think about that sterile hospital room. I think about the weight of my son's silent body, and I realize that some voids can never be filled. They can only be avenged.